Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of Master Z, Ip Man Legacy, a Hong Kong action flick from 2018 that was directed by Yuen Woo-Ping and stars Jin Zhang, one of my favorite contemporary action stars. So Master Z is actually a spin-off from the Ip Man franchise. If you've seen Ip Man 3, you already know that Jin Zhang played an important role in that film, a martial arts master by the name of Tin Chi Chung. This film picks up soon after that film ends, but it follows Tin Chi's story instead of Ip Man. So Ip Man himself really does not appear in this film, with the exception of a few very brief flashback scenes. But that's okay, because Tin Chi kicks some serious butt himself. Now the story here does involve a variety of side characters, but the conflicts are pretty simplistic. Tin Chi has decided to keep a low profile for a while, but of course, he runs into a gang of hoodlums who are attacking two women. So he throws down, takes care of business, but doing so ignites a conflict that will eventually expand and rope in other characters. So one of the big reasons to watch this movie is Jin Zhang, an action star who has made his presence felt in recent years. The first time he stood out to me, from what I remember, was SPL 2, A Time for Consequences, also known as Killzone 2, where he played the evil warden. This guy is awesome, and I will watch him in anything. In my opinion, he's a top-grade talent because he moves really fast, and he's very precise in his punches and kicks. He does a lot of fantastic combos in rapid-fire fashion, really good stuff. He's a convincing badass. He has screen presence, he looks cool, he's got a good look about him, and he does well in dramatic moments too. I think Master Z is another feather in his cap, and it adds to his increasingly impressive filmography. Now this movie does not waste time. The opening section of the film is loaded with fights. Then the middle section is kind of devoted to setting up the conflicts, which does slow the pacing down a little bit. There were some good non-action moments that I enjoyed, but I would have preferred one more lengthy action scene smack dab in the middle of the film to help keep things moving. But then, the whole final section of the film, we get a bunch of fighting again. So that's kind of the structure of how things play out. Now, Yuen Woo-Ping has had a fantastic career. A lot of people know this guy's name by now. He's done work in Hollywood, all over the place. Really impressive stuff. But some criticism has been aimed at his last few directorial efforts. The Thousand Faces of Dun Jia, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon 2, Sword of Destiny, and True Legend. That's understandable, since none of those films were particularly great in my opinion. But he has had some fantastic efforts as action director in recent years, with stuff like Ip Man 3 and Once Upon a Time in Shanghai. Now the action choreography in Master Z is top-notch, and it's executed at a high level. There is some wire work that is used at times in order to accentuate some of the jumping maneuvers, but I don't mind it in this case because the wire work is established as part of the action design early in the film, so you kind of know what you're going to get throughout. It's not like a random crazy wire move comes from out of nowhere near the end of the movie and you're just like, where did that come from? That would have been more distracting to me than if it was blended in with the action design from the start. Now, there are some people out there who hate wire work under all circumstances and conditions. As soon as wires are used, they immediately hate the movie. Does not even matter how good the martial arts choreography is or how it's executed. As soon as wire work is evident at all, that's it. Movie sucks. There are people like this out there. I've read reviews from them. Now, personally, I just want to see people get wrecked in an action movie, so if it's done well and it's fun to watch, I really don't care if wires are used. But I do want to emphasize the fact that most of the fighting in Master Z is grounded and realistic. You know what I mean? It uses hard-hitting martial arts maneuvers, and it will give you an adrenaline rush, because it's very good quality stuff. You know what I mean? Just the wires are used a little bit during the fight, some of the jump moves, and maybe the scene that you see in the trailer where they're scaling the signs on the street as well. Now, you may have noticed that Tony Jaa was cast in this. He only gets a few minutes of screen time and only one legitimate fight scene. I'm happy that Tony has been collaborating with Hong Kong filmmakers recently, but it is a bit frustrating when he gets minimal screen time. The same thing happened in Paradox, if you'll remember. Now, this kind of thing was a marketing gimmick in Hong Kong back in the 80s and 90s a lot. But we're in the year 2019 now. If you cast Tony Jaa in a movie, he should be used extensively. Stop giving him bit roles. Now, thankfully, Michelle Yeoh and Dave Bautista have more screen time and have a greater presence in the story and conflicts, but they also get their chance to shine in separate fight scenes themselves. The finale between Zhang and Bautista is pretty sweet. It reminded me of the Donnie Yen versus Mike Tyson fight in Ip Man 3, if only because we get two completely different fighting styles pitted against one another, which is pretty cool. And this fight's probably even better than the Mike Tyson fight, in my opinion. So Master Z really is kind of like an old-school martial arts flick, where the story and the characters are basically used to bridge the fights. The bad guys are foreigners, again, which is something we see a lot in action movies from Hong Kong and even mainland China. But this cliche really does not bother me much in an action-packed fighting movie. But again, I have read some negative reviews already that of this film, Master Z, that focus entirely on its depiction of foreigners. I really don't care. I mean, we've got people kicking the crap out of each other in highly entertaining ways. So, I mean, sometimes I really do not understand the mentality of people that go into movies like this. And I've been hearing for years how everyone wants to go back to the glory days of Hong Kong action cinema from the 80s and 90s. Ever since I started watching Hong Kong films, I've been hearing that request. Well, guess what? There's no way people would be able to handle those movies nowadays. No one can just roll with it anymore. We can't just roll with it. Everything needs to make sense. Have a proper storyline and have an excessively bloated runtime because, 90 minutes is just not long enough for modern movies. You know what I mean? So a lot of those 95-minute, 90-minute, 85-minute runtimes from those Hong Kong films back in the day, it would be unacceptable. You got to add 20 or 30 minutes more filler in there. And they certainly should not have any wire work used whatsoever. We can't have that. Now, I've seen about 300 Hong Kong action movies from the 80s and 90s, and I can tell you that these restrictions would eliminate the vast majority of films that were released during that era. So I guess, the heyday of Hong Kong cinema simply does not meet our contemporary high standards for action films. And heaven forbid if a movie does not religiously follow the grounded action design and physics of the Raid Redemption. Because if it doesn't, we kind of have to force ourselves to be disappointed with it. You know what I mean? And this is the mentality a lot of people have when they go into martial arts action films nowadays. And I will never understand it as long as I live. It just feels like a bunch of unnecessary artificial restrictions that are designed to prevent you from enjoying a movie. Now, if you want an example of some really bad action movies from recent years, go watch the Detective Chinatown films or Europe Raiders. Those are bad action movies because, guess why? The action sucks. You know what I mean? Choreography is incompetent, the set pieces are lame, and you can just tell that little to no emphasis was placed on creating good quality action sequences. See, that to me is what makes a bad action movie. But I don't know, maybe I'm just crazy and out of touch with what's going on. But regardless, I definitely enjoyed Master Z. The film is currently available on Region 3 DVD with English subtitles. I'm sure it'll get a US release at some point this year, either in a limited theater release and or streaming or DVD or something like that. So look out for it if you think it'll interest you. And as always, I'll see you next time.